Little Town, a simple Euro game aimed, I believe, mainly at families and possibly children. Don't be fooled by the fact that the box here says 10 and up. You know, these estimates are very conservative because then the publishers don't want to have emails starting, "My little angel can't play your game." Because frankly, this game is so simple that if you play games regularly with your kids, maybe 10 would be the time where they want to move on to something else. I played the game with my kids that are right now 7 and 9, and they loved it. I can already tell you it is a great family game. It is so light that I don't think I will bring it to game night. I don't think it's going to be a game that we play with only adults at game night. But my kids have asked me several times to play it, so that is a sign that it really works for what I believe it is intended. It's an introduction to Eurogaming, in particular to worker placement, to young gamers. Now, here you have the board. This is where the players will build their little town in that grid there. We have an area, which is the market, where we have different buildings that we will build. There are a lot more that will be used in any single game, so you have a lot of variety there because of different combination of tiles, with the exception of the wheat fields. Then you always have a number of them. These tiles have, in the top left corner, the number and type of resources you need to spend to build them. And we have 4 kinds of resources. We have stone, wheat, wood, and fish. And they're represented by those cubes. We also have coins, important resources. We also have cards that will give players special missions, this special way of scoring during the game. But back to our buildings. We have the resources you need to spend to build them, victory points that you score when building them, and then what the building does when you activate it. So here would allow me to trade a coin for a wheat and a fish. This building will allow me to activate, to trade any 2 resources for any 2. This one gives me 2 coins. Other things may trade coins for victory points or other resources. There's a general idea. Some will only give you victory points, so this one is worth a lot of victory points, but doesn't do anything, doesn't have any special ability during the game. Other tiles may give you special ways of scoring at the end of the game if you own that building. Now, each player has a number of worker tokens and building tokens. The number depends on the number of players, but gameplay remains the same. When it is your turn, you can choose to do 1 or 2 things, and they're all tied to the workers you place on the board. You may choose to place a worker on the main board to collect resources, in which case you put the worker there, and the worker will collect resources from all of the 8 adjacent spaces. So yes, also diagonally, in which case this worker will give me 2 fish and 1 wood. As simple as that. Now, if there are buildings already on the board, then I can activate them, and if those buildings belong to me, then I activate them for free. If the building that I want to use belongs to someone else, then I have to pay them 1 coin. So coins are also important because of that. And say, for example, that being the situation, I could activate my own building, and if I have them, I could discard those resources there for 7 victory points. And also I could give a coin to another player to gain 2 coins, which is still, you know, a decent trade-off. So that's what you do when you place a worker on the board to gather, to collect stuff. And that's how you collect stuff. But as we said, you also want to build buildings. If you want to do so during a turn, you place your worker not on the grid, but in this area here, simply to mark the fact that you use that worker that way, and any number can be there. Then you spend the indicated number of resources, you take the tile that you want, and you place it on in any empty space on the board. Of course, after a while you will want to do patterns so that you can use your buildings often. You can create interesting synergies. The players will want to use those too, and they will give you coins in the process, etc., etc., etc. So you will collect victory points during the game as you build buildings and as you activate buildings activities. You play for 4 full rounds, and at the end of round 4, the player with the highest total victory points is the winner of the game. So Little Town is a children/family game. It definitely has been designed so the kids can play it also. But it's not that much watered down. There's not much... It's not that simplified from several other light worker placement games, light Euro games that are marketed mainly for casual adult players. So I don't know that I see myself putting this on the table during adult game night, but I think I could. If I decide to play as a filler, I don't think the players will be old wouldn't be bored. Yes, the level of challenge for an adult may be not as great, but it could still work as a really, 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 really light worker placement. But for kids, it's precisely what you want. It is precisely a legit worker placement with the mechanics that you know so well and you love so much from adult games, from more complex games. They're all there. They're just, this is the way it is, and it's supposed to be, and it works. So it does introduce your children to a mechanic that then they will be happy to explore more and more when they're older. So I played the game not with other adults, only with my 2 daughters that are 7 and 9 now. Oh, time does fly. I remember when I said stuff. I played this game with my daughters that are 2 and 4 now. They're 7 and 9 now, so they can play simple worker placement games, and they loved it. They really got into it. It was the first time also that they were exposed to that mechanic, but it was presented in such a linear, intuitive way that they totally got it. The icons are so well designed, totally intuitive. Again, the 7-year-old could always tell what the icons meant. And just were playing it, well, not as efficiently and effectively as an adult would, but they were getting the idea. I want that building, therefore I need wood. If I need wood, I need to place a worker there, and what of the places that may give me wood will also give me something else. So they were definitely getting that idea, planning ahead. In fact, if I play this building, then I can collect that resource and use it. They definitely love the idea of getting money from other people. In a certain sense, it's adversarial because I may place buildings specifically in areas where that would annoy you. But in practice, playing it with at least with my kids, that did not happen. They were really trying just to create the best synergy so that they could use them. And they were happy when somebody else was using those too because that gave them coins. It is a game that, while competitive, really is aimed at children at several levels, not just because of the low complexity, but also because of the competitive but not particularly adversarial, hostile mechanics. There aren't many ways of actively hurting other people. Most of the interactions will be that you give money to other people, and that also again creates a good atmosphere when you're playing with young players that have very strong emotions and they cannot deal with high levels of take that. Little Town is a little game. The subtitle could be My First Worker Placement. It really is very, very fresh in terms of design because it follows in on a trend that is major in modern game designs, and it does it at such a clear, crystal clear, simple, intuitive way that will allow you to introduce kids to it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there is somebody some adult that really struggles to play Ticket to Ride. They think it's too hard, and maybe this will work. I think actually this is slightly harder than Ticket to Ride, but we are in that ballpark. Very simple, very light. It could act, I guess, as a gateway game. In my family, it will mainly be a kids game or a family game that I play with my kids, and I know that I will because they let me know they want to play it more. Of course, that is a great endorsement for my kids, and as a parent, I can tell you that is great. It's great to have a game that you can play with your kids, that they enjoy playing, and that you enjoy playing with them.